Tiffany Chung, your go-to for all things marketing, mindset, and manifestation. I grew my online business from 0 to beyond 6 figures in 8 months. My purpose is to empower women to step into the highest, most aligned versions of themselves. If you are ready to take charge of your life, learn how to design a wildly successful business, and leave limiting beliefs behind, you've come to the right place. You will learn the actionable tips and step-by-step strategies on money, manifestation, and social media. It's time to step into your role as boss, to raise your vibration and tap into your unlimited potential today. Welcome to the Social Reset Podcast. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. I have my friend Hannah on with us. Hannah is a women's spiritual empowerment coach. She's an astrologer, all the things healing, all of the things with the cosmos and the stars. She's wise beyond her years, and she is one of my close friends. So I was like, let's just get on the podcast. Let's have a fun, flowy conversation about all things manifestation and healing and astrology and charts and moon cycles. And yeah, let's just dive into all of that. So Hannah, I'm going to have you introduce yourself to the people.
Oh my gosh. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much, Tiffany, for having me on the show. I'm so excited that we get to just chat and have some uninterrupted girl time and talk on the pod.
Yes.
But to introduce myself, my name is Hannah Sophia. As Tiffany said, I am a women's spiritual empowerment coach. I'm a 5th generation intuitive astrologer as well. And through my work, I really help women to tap deep into their bodies, to heal and release trauma somatically, to rise in their confidence and their empowerment and their spirituality. So I do that through one-to-one coaching. I have online offerings as well. I do workshops, speaking. I gave a TEDx talk a few years ago, kind of done all the things like Tiffany said. And I'm also currently writing a book. So lots of fun things in the pipeline.
Yay.
And I'm just so excited to be here chatting with you.
Yay. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. And I think one of the things that stood out to me when we first met, and we'll have to tell that story in a moment. But I just was very drawn to you and your people always told me like, oh my gosh, you've navigated so much at like such an early age, right? And I feel like that's how I think when I see you. So tell us a little bit about your kind of movement navigation background story into where you are now and what sparked, your own healing journey, your own awakenings. Tell us all the things.
Oh my goodness. So my story takes so many roundabout turns, but really starts from when I was in high school. So this was 2014, 2013, around that time. And growing up, I was pushed really hard in school. It's the typical story of the first generation Indian American child. I'm the eldest daughter, grandchild, niece on both sides. So was a lot of pressure on me to succeed growing up. And I was pushed really hard academically in my extracurriculars. I was a ballerina growing up. And through the midst of that, I was also a writer. Writing was my one main outlet for where I could express myself and express my feelings because I was really shy and introverted as a kid too. And when I want to say about 13 or 14, I had a family member show me a girl who was a blogger. And she was like, look, Hannah, this girl just takes photos of her outfits. She writes about her life and her travels, and she travels the world and gets paid to do it. And at the time, this was probably a few years before that. So it was like 2012, 2013. Like blogging was not a thing. The term influencer didn't exist. And I remember immediately feeling the spark and being like, oh my God, I want to do this. But then having the hindsight of no one's going to want to read a blog written by a 14-year-old. What do I have to contribute is what I thought at the time. So I shelved the idea, continued dancing, continued writing for fun. And then my junior year in high school, everything kind of hit ahead. I was bullied really badly to the point where I actually ended up leaving my traditional high school and doing online homeschool. I actually stopped dancing because I was having a really unhealthy relationship with it. And it was in that moment where I decided, you know what? I'm going to finally start that blog. I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to build a community, because at the time I felt like my voice was being silenced around me. I've always had a really strong voice. I've always had really strong opinions. And yet through the bullying, I felt like my voice was stifled. And I had the recognition of, if I put my voice out there on a blog or social media, it's the one place where no one can shut me up, because if they don't want to hear it, they can unfollow. And it's my space to do what I want. So I started by creating a fashion and lifestyle blog, and it was literally me standing in front of my garage every day. My mom would take a picture of my outfit first thing in the morning, and I would post it and write a little message that I thought was inspirational. And I came at it with the idea of, if one person reads this and feels better about it, then that would be the most amazing thing. Then I've made it. Like, I just want to help people feel better.
Mm.
And from there, it really kind of snowballed. I started a blog then from there, and the blog started to pick up a lot of traffic. And through that, I kind of had this whirlwind journey of that leading to professional modeling opportunities. I did some commercials and some contracts, and I am sure there are some random places where you'll see some commercials that I'm in playing. Sometimes I see them on YouTube, which is kind of funny. And that led me into then learning so much about being on set and learning from the different photographers there about how to take photos. And that helped me elevate my blog content, which then led me to becoming a photographer, which I did throughout college. And then that job as a photographer led me to becoming a music photographer, and I toured with rock and roll bands all throughout college. So I had this very kind of whirlwind journey. But to bring it back to the work that I'm doing now and how I ended up here, it was in 2016. I was 17 years old, and I had this realization, or this moment, where I realized that I wanted something, and there was no possible way that my hard work alone was going to help me to get it. And it was through that I was led to pick up a book called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And
Mm.
if you're not familiar with The Secret, it is a book all about the law of attraction, manifestation. It's kind of a controversial book, but it's a good like gateway book for people into spirituality. And it was for me. And I started reading that and devouring it, and started to realize that there was so much more than just my ability to work and take action and be in this like hyper independent, hyper masculine state that I'd been in my entire life thus far. And so I began
Mhm.
reading and studying and learning, becoming a student of spirituality. And all the while, this is becoming a huge part of my life. And I've got my life running in two parallel lines. I've got this blog where I'm sharing openly about my life, but I'm not touching on the spirituality portion. And I'm not touching on it because I was afraid that people were going to think it was taboo, it was woo-woo, it was too weird. There weren't people talking about spirituality in 2015, 2016 like they are now. And
Yeah.
so it was really kind of this moment where I think it was about a year and a half later, I got to the point where I was like, this is such a big part of my life. I cannot not share this and still be in integrity with the work that I'm doing. So I started sharing nuggets of what I was learning from the perspective of a student. And sure enough, my community ate it up, and it began to grow so much quicker. And people were way more interested in that stuff than the fashion content. And I was like, well, okay, if this is what they want, I'm going to give it to them. And from there, people started asking me to then teach them what I was learning. And I was like, hold on, hold on. I'm not a teacher. I'm just sharing what I'm learning as I'm learning it. But through there, I started meeting more people in the spiritual community in San Francisco, which then led me to get my meditation teacher certification when I was a sophomore in college. And then I got certified in breath work and then trauma healing. And then it kind of just snowballed and spiraled from there. And it got to the point where I was starting to do some readings and sessions and make a little bit of money throughout college, which was awesome. And then when I graduated college, it was spring of 2020, which we all remember what happened during that time. And I thought to myself, I'm in a unique situation where all of my peers are struggling to find jobs. There's
Mhm.
economy's not good right now. People aren't hiring, and no one knows if we're going to die right now. Like, it was such a chaotic time.
Yeah.
And I thought, I have the tools to be able to help people during this time. And I have a community I can share it with. And I have the internet and the ability to reach so many people. So
Mhm.
And that's when I started to really transition my work from just being content to then being more of a business structure. And I'm very grateful to say that that risk worked out very well. So that's my story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's so beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm a very similar we've gone through very similar kind of roadblocks as well as thought patterns and like who am I to do this? And also I'm just like sharing very vulnerably and openly. Yeah, I also remember being on social media when it was like influencer wasn't really a term and I was like teaching brands what a partnership or a collaboration would look like, right? And like explaining to them what I would do and what the exchange would be and things like that and just growing and continuing to expand since then is so beautiful. So, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'd love to hear more about like some of what your work looks like today. Let's dive into like some of the astrology and the healing and I see you as like the tapping queen and you talk a lot about manifestation, which I talk about manifestation a lot on this podcast as well. So we're all, familiar with manifestation and quantum, leaping and shifting into different, I call it hopping into different timelines, your highest timeline, right? Like, what does that look like? And how do you shift and embody that? Yeah, tell us about like how, your spiritual awakenings and your connection to manifestation through kind of this journey of being a blogger and then a speaker and then a teacher and then coaching, right? Like how do you feel like spirituality has weaved its way into your work and your world?
Oh gosh, I think truly the essence and the common thread between my entire journey is inherently spiritual because all of these things that I have done make absolutely no sense when you lay them out on paper. If you were to just look at the tangible, like this is how my career has looked, it would be bananas. Like no one would be able to make any sense of it. And people would be like, how do you even make money? This makes no sense. And that is because the common thread throughout all of it has been me unconsciously in the beginning, but consciously now following my own intuition and following that authentic voice within me and following those little nudges that said, hey, do this or do that, or you should try this. And approaching it with a sense of curiosity and a sense of deep embodied trust in the universe that even if I have no idea what's going to happen, I trust that the universe has my back and I trust myself to be able to handle whatever is thrown at me. So it's gonna be okay regardless. And that was kind of the ethos I took in my journey. And where that kind of led into my work today is, I call myself a woman spiritual empowerment coach because I want to focus on spirituality through the lens of really helping women to collectively rise and come together and really rise in their confidence. We're in a space where it's a really interesting time for women. We have the girl boss era of the 2010s where it was like hustle and do a man's job and prove that you're just as good as men and work as hard as you can. And then we have the other camp of what's going on right now on TikTok and Instagram. I don't know if you've seen this with the whole trad wife trend of people being like, no,
Mhm.
we should go back to being uneducated and let men have the financial control. And it's like we have these two opposite extremes. And so for me, where spirituality comes into this conversation of women's empowerment is how do we tap into what is authentically aligned for us? What is the most authentic expression of our own voice? And what does the unique path for us look like when we take away the trends of who we think we're supposed to be and we block out that noise by going deep within? And that looks like reprogramming our subconscious mind to get rid of um, all of the BS. I don't wanna swear if you don't swear on your podcast.
Oh, I swear. Have you heard
Perfect,
me?
perfect. So getting rid of all the bullshit that
Yeah.
stories that we take in from other people, from even like generational trauma and cultural programming to really put those all away. And that's where we use meditation, and we use EFT tapping, as you mentioned, to really dive into the mind and be like, okay, what are those subconscious stories we're holding on to? And then we go into the body through the intuition, through inner voice work, or as I call it, tapping into your inner truth and really just uncovering, okay, but what is the body holding on to? What is the body feeling? How can we release those feelings and really dive more into what does the authentic expression of yourself look like? And I think when you can really pair those together, along with building up the confidence, you can have that deep faith and trust in the universe and that deep
Mm,
faith and trust in yourself, because I think both are equally as important. That is where you build authentic empowerment and authentic alignment, where you are truly able to move through the world, letting go of the preconceived notion of who anyone else, any other culture, any other country, any other generation wants you to be, and really tap into who you truly are. And I think the essence of spirituality, to bring it all full circle, is about coming back to who are you when everything else is stripped away, and how do you lead yourself through the world?
yeah. Yeah, I love that so much because I feel like I went through my own, like, reckoning and awakening and everything falling apart and everything coming down, especially like being a teen mom and being kicked out of the house and then all of my friends leaving and then the community that I'd grown up with since I was a child just kind of like, disconnecting themselves completely from me because of that. And I feel like every single one of us, like most of us listening to this podcast and listening to this episode, we've gone through these cycles. We've gone through death and rebirth. We've gone through some type of metaphorical, burning at the stake.
Wow.
And that is where a lot of us have that kind of like diverged roads of like, where do you want to go from here? Do you want to keep holding up this facade of who you feel like you should be in the world versus, well, now I have this opportunity to be who I really am and discover that and find that and be that. And that gets to be the most important way in which we find ourselves,
Mhm,
right? And I think that's where we get to share our stories and be vulnerable and let ourselves be seen
mhm.
by our audience and by our community, right? Like that's truly what allows us to be leaders is we go first. We've moved through these things and now we're able to share aspects of it and we're able to alchemize that into power, into our purpose, right? Into allowing people to truly know who we are. My entire platform has been built on my vulnerability and my authenticity and who I am and letting my community know who I am. And I feel like a lot of that has been me discovering that to
Mhm.
begin with and everything that you shared, right? Like I call it truest self work. We do that a lot inside Magic Mind, the mastermind,
Mhm.
and connecting to who you are in the lens of running your business and making
Yeah.
decisions and showing up, messaging, right? It's not about a three-step formula or a perfectly created caption. It's like what feels most alive for you right now to share with your people that they need to hear, whether it's a story, whether it is something that's more educational focused, whether it is something that's being channeled through you. Um, those are the ways in which we are designed to build our businesses and to lead our lives when you're connected to your purpose, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful. Like there's nothing better than being in your purpose and that's something that constantly evolves, right? Like that's something I want people to know.
Oh, yeah, and, I was actually having this conversation with a friend the other day and talking about how I really feel like throughout our lives, we grow up and we start to try on all these hats, right? And we start to see like, well, do I like this and do I like that? Am I this person? Am I that person? And I think especially your late teens, early 20s is that time of like trying on these different archetypes. But I think where I've landed now, and I'm curious to hear if you've landed here at some point too, is the space of looking at my life and realizing everything is so authentically aligned, and also realizing that I've come full circle because I feel so much more aligned with my childlike self than I have ever before. And
Mm,
it's that feeling of like you try on all the hats and you see if you're this person or that person, but then you get to the point like your mid to late 20s where you start to take off that hat and you go, oh no, but this is who I've always been. And it's that like safe warm, like coming home. And I look at, like, I have this one picture of little me, and I look at her and I'm just like, I feel the most like her that I have since I actually was her. And I think that's part of the beauty of following your intuition, following this alignment, following the spiritual path, is you get to come back home to that version of you.
Oh, I love that. And it's so funny. I was just thinking about that, and you summarized it in such beautiful words. Like, you said it so beautifully. It's like, yeah, it's like a full circle moment where you're like, oh wait, actually the like source of my joy and my power and my magnetism is when I was that free, didn't give a fuck what anyone thought, who I was when I was that like just liberated child, where like you're unruly and you're wild and no one can tell you anything, and you are who you are, you wear what you wear. Like,
Mhm.
we look back at these pictures of ourselves like doing the craziest things, or putting on like a fashion show in the living room, or doing a performance for all of my family, right? Me and my sister. And I'm like, I'm like telling my sister where to go, and she's like my backup dancer. And yeah, like when we're in that joy, it's
Mhm.
so powerful. I mean, it's so funny because right now I'm literally running the Try Witch tournament, which
Right.
is an entire month of selling and tasks and challenges. And it's like, this is me just gamifying things, right?
Yeah.
Businesses can be so serious and it can be really hard. There's ebbs and there's flows, there's ups and there's downs, right? Not just like emotionally, but also like within, when you're an entrepreneur, like you
Sure.
create your abundance, and month to month can look different depending on what you're launching, your business model, your product suite, right? And so the best way that I was like, I can teach sales, which is sovereign sales. It's sales as the whole woman, right? Sales from the inside out, right? Not just like, here is how you sell and here's a script that you read off of, but here's how you actually create sales that are client led, right?
Yeah.
Clients are magnetized to your work. Clients are magnetized to what you're doing and the offers you put out there, because you're in such a deep connection to the spirit of your offers, which I'd love to talk more about with you too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, oh yes, this is an ode to Harry Potter, and I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. And also like, this is so fun, and it's tasks, it's challenges, but it's
Yeah.
also in a way reconditioning in a fun, playful, lighthearted way, reconditioning the way that we think about sales,
Mhm.
right? And it's reconditioning the way that we show up. And when we do that and we connect to that inner child joy and the things that lit us up and the things that made us, just like giddy and
Oh, yeah.
joyful, that is really where I feel like a lot of the healing happens. Like, yes, I love Reiki and energetic healing and tapping, and you can do all the things, right?
Yeah.
There's so many tools out there, but like, have you just tried like laughing and just feeling your feelings
Have you just
and just
tried
like
not
being
giving
a
a single
kid?
fuck?
No, literally, like
Quite
just
wonderful.
yes, because when we're children, like
Yeah.
there aren't those conditionings and those layers that we are now. We are literally just
Yeah.
unapologetically who we are at our core. So if we just let ourselves do that and have like, fun with our friends, like when we meet up together and it's like one on one, we're just like laughing and we're just giggling and we're just having a good time, right? Or like when you meet up with or it's like a laid back girls' night or something, or you go on a retreat and you meet people you've never met, right? Some of the most healing is just like laughing together and really truly seeing each other
Yeah.
as who we are, as those like childlike versions of ourselves.
And not to go on a complete tangent, but I think I hear from a lot of people, and I'm sure there's listeners on your podcast who've had this experience. A lot of people's kind of foray into spirituality is like they'll go on like a psychedelic journey, right? Or they'll do like any sort of plant medicine. And I think the reason why that's people's gateway into spirituality is because it literally brings you back to that childlike self where you are laughing and you're giggling, not always.
Yes.
Sometimes you're able to tap into that energy of just like not caring about anything else. And sometimes you do laugh and you giggle and you cry and you're unapologetic about your emotions. And I think that's
Yeah.
the reason why it's so many people's gateway into spirituality. So if anyone's listening and they are like, oh my God, that was me, that's what got me on my spiritual journey. I think one thing that would be cool for them to take from this is that It's not so much about the medicine. It's not so much about the practice. It's not the tapping. It's not the meditation. It's not anything else. It is you being unapologetically you. And you've
Yes.
always had that and you always will have that. But sometimes you just need a little something else to bring it out of you again.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That's so good. Yeah. And I think that that's so real. Like that's what happens with so many people. And it's like you connect with this piece of you that's like, oh, wait, this feels like coming home. Right. And
Mhm.
that's how I kind of wrap my work into. I mean, I say it in a lot of different ways. I think we all do. But like one of the biggest things I do is in my coaching, in my work, in my purpose is when I'm working with somebody, I'm bringing them home to who they're meant to be,
Exactly.
and who they're designed to be, underneath all those layers, underneath all the conditioning, underneath all of these expectations and messages, right? Like, who are you in your truest essence? And how can you lead your life in that way?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's so, so beautiful. Ah, okay. I would, yeah, okay, let's dive in from there into like let's talk some astrology. Like this is going to be so fun for the listeners cuz I don't think that I've had a conversation. Actually, I don't think I've had an
Oh
astrologer on the podcast.
my God.
So maybe we can kind of play around and see where you
Good.
want to tap into in terms of like
I love
how
that.
can we use or how are some ways that you use astrology to guide you in your business and in intuitive decisions. Something I've talked a lot about on the podcast and also in my work is human design. And human design has aspects of astrology, like there wouldn't be human design without astrology and the I Ching system and, all the whole way that in which it was channeled. But yeah, I'd love to hear about astrology. I'm still there are things that I know, but I
Yeah.
still very much consider myself more of a beginner, even though I feel like I know a good amount of my own personal birth chart, but would
Sure.
love to even talk about like, when your business is born and your business's birth chart and all of that good stuff as well.
Ooh. I love that. So I think the first place to start with the astrology conversation is let's debunk astrology right here and right now, because there are still so many people who think it's personality typing, who think it's just you fit in one of 12 boxes and that's it. And if you're there, oh my gosh, you have got so much to unlock about astrology, because astrology is truly the most personalized practice that we have. There is not a practice like it, because a single natal chart won't repeat for about 25,000 years. That is how specialized it is. That is how unique it is to you. And I hear people say all the time, what about twins? What about people born at like the same time in the same place? It's always going to have little tiny differences that are going to create big impacts and shift the way your life is. And that's why not one person is the same life as another person. So what your natal chart is it's essentially a snapshot of where all the planets and asteroids were positioned at the exact moment that you were born from the vantage point here on Earth. So you can imagine, like, if you could have taken like your phone and looked up at the sky the moment you were born and like snapped a picture. Oh my God, what is this like
Whoa,
background that Zoom has got?
that was so cool.
What was that?
I have no idea, but you literally said like snap a picture and there were literally fireworks
Fireworks.
exploding in your background. I've never seen that happen on Zoom.
I haven't either. I don't know where that came from.
We're gonna have to get a clip of that to show the
Oh,
listeners what we're talking about. But I was like, am I tripping? Like, what is in this like drink?
did we go on a plant medicine journey this morning? Like, oh my God.
I know, like, wow. Okay,
Okay, so that was new. If people are listening, they have to see the video because that
we'll
was
have to post it. Yeah, that was great. Okay.
all right. So essentially what I was saying before Zoom decided to put fireworks and sparkles in the background was that if you could have looked up the sky and taken a picture of where everything was the moment you were born, that's what a chart shows us. And so what it basically will show you is not just where are these planets and asteroids and what do they mean, but it can really teach you about any sort of aspect of yourself. It can show you why you might have gone through certain experiences as a child. It can show you everything down to the type of person you'll marry and how many children you'll have. And The thing I like to say too is that astrology is not fate, it's not fortune telling. It only
Mhm.
represents potential. And so there are two things the chart doesn't take into account, and that's linear time and free will. Free will meaning I always tell my clients, you can walk away from this reading and take absolutely none of the advice that I give you, and that is your own free will and your own choice. And I have had maybe 3 to 5 people that I've ever read for in the last 6 years I've been reading charts, um, walk away and be like, no, I'm not going to do that. And every single person has come back about 6, 9, 10 months later and been like, oh my God, so I didn't listen to your advice and I did something else and it didn't work out. So then I did the thing you told me to do and then it worked out. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with growing up and kind of moving away from the child self and then coming back to it. Your natal chart has the same way. You have the ability to make your own choices. You have the ability to make your own decisions, but you're somehow always going to be led back to your chart. And whether you call that like nature versus nurture, whether you call that intuition, I think your natal chart really is the blueprint that's going to guide you back home and guide you ultimately into yourself, should you choose to follow it.
Yeah. I love that so much. Yeah. And that's so beautiful. I feel like I've had my own journey with like astrology and thinking like, oh, is it just like what are people just making things up based on like, because I also grew up really religious. And
Right.
so everything related to spirituality and manifestation and astrology were all tarot cards, everything like that I in the community I specifically was raised in religiously was like, oh, that's just like demonic or like that's not, and so that was the conditioning I grew up with. And it took me a while to break out of that into, well, let me explore this for myself. Well, let me have these like massive awakenings, right? And then completely wake up from like what I knew growing up. And then this entire journey of like, oh, let this lead me. Oh, there's so much I can learn about who I am and why I'm here in this lifetime, right? Through astrology and through, human design and different things that I've learned to open myself up to. And I'm sure a lot of people have also experienced similar things of their own journey of astrology. And now it's also become much more like mainstream, for lack of better term. And so you see little like signs and things kind of all over the place. And without kind of that deeper explanation that you just dove into for us around what astrology can do for your life, for your business, for, living out your purpose.
It's really interesting too, and not to be a little controversial, but I think you'll enjoy this. There's a lot
Please be
of
controversial.
religious stigma against astrology, but I think the conversation people aren't ready for is how much religious symbolism or how much astrological symbolism is in religion, specifically in the Bible. If you're interested in learning more about that, on Gaia TV, there is an episode of the show The Secret Life of Symbols that talks all about the astrological symbolism in the Bible. It's very interesting. So
Ooh, I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm
it's,
so intrigued by that.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, I'm not going to go fully into it, but like Virgo being represented by the woman who's actually the Virgin Mary, and the 12 disciples actually representing the 12 signs, because the sun makes its way through all of the signs. And what is Jesus? He's the sun, S-O-N, but he's also the S-U-N.
Oh my God.
It's a whole
That's
interesting rabbit hole.
crazy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting, because it's like the church, the more very, very like religious, like organized religion, older kind of systems also denounce like, witchery and witchcraft. And yet they have rituals all throughout
Right.
religion and all religions, right? They're all essentially rituals and ceremonies, right? Including like drinking the blood of Christ. Like,
Right.
what? And you're over here looking at my tarot cards?
Right. Having a Christmas tree goes back to paganism. Like all
Yeah.
of these traditions have so many witchy roots to them. And personally, again, we don't have to go down this rabbit hole, but I think it's part of like the people in control trying to keep this information away from people, because if everyone knew how powerful it was, the people in power would have a lot less control. There's a famous quote from, I believe it's JP Morgan, and he said, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do.
Oh, wow.
So if you're listening, you can just noodle on that one.
Yes. Yeah, that's so good. And we can do an entire episode diving into dogma of
Oh my God,
religion and the just
let's
all of the
go.
ways it's yeah, I have many, many things to say.
Yeah.
And I have on this podcast, I've talked about it a lot. But yeah, okay. So oh my gosh, where do you want to go from here? Like, what would you love to share with us about your astrology magic? And, we can talk about like birth times in your business. We can talk about we can dive into even just one kind of area of astrology and how it helps us to step deeper into our purpose. Like, what feels alive for you? This is a very intuitive episode.
I love it. What feels alive for me is something that I was spending a lot of time looking into personally last night, because as you
Mm,
know, I have been in a big launch this morning. So this has been a busy, busy, busy morning.
yeah.
We're recording at what? It's like 10, it's 11 a.m. I've been up since like 5 working, so it's been a little bit
Oh
crazy.
my gosh.
Um, but last night, I was really playing with something that you talk about a lot, which is like the spirit of your business and the spirit of your offering. And I was like sitting on my couch, leaning into the spirit of this offering, and intuitively was like, so I know what time I'm going to launch this. Why not pull up its birth chart? Why not look into its birth chart and what kind of nurturing does it need? What kind of sales structure does it need? And should I tweak the time to have a different outcome? And I thought about it. And then I was like, well, actually, no, you can't control when babies are born. So why not just intuitively
Mm,
lean into, this is the time I wanted to launch. What is the chart for this?
yeah.
And it helped me to understand and personify my offering, to understand more of its spirit, its ethos, how it's moving. For me, it's like I'm in Aries, sun with a Sagittarius moon. I'm all fire. I move really, really quickly, really, really fast. I have an idea, I act on it. I'm also a 1-3 generator in human design. Like I go, go, go. But I was looking at this offering, and my offering is a Pisces sun with a Capricorn moon and a Taurus rising. Earth and water needs a lot of patience, needs a lot of devotion, needs a lot of love to it. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, okay, so this is not something that I need to move fast with, but this is slow and sustainable over time. And so really looking
Oh, love that.
into, you may not know the exact time that you launched your business. I know I don't. I don't even remember what day I launched my business, to be honest with you. But what I do know is when I plan to launch an offering, and
Yeah.
offering is going to be born. And I think looking in the chart into the chart can really help you to get an idea of who this offering is. And I think when you can personify
Mm.
it, just like you do when you talk about the spirit of the offering, it helps you to really see it as a sovereign entity that needs to be loved and nourished and watered, just like, I don't know, a child or a pet would.
Oh, I love that so much because you bring such the magic of astrology into, this phrase I've used pretty much throughout the majority of my business, which is the spirit of your business, right? Which really just means like the soul of your business, the heart of your business, the beating heart of your business. Because the way I see it is like every single business has a spirit, right? And all of my clients are familiar with this. This is a lot of the work that we do where I say it isn't just like, the bro markety, just go and sell and here's the script and here's the strategy and just here are the most profitable niches, just pick one and just like feed the machine. And it's like we've had such wounded masculine logical linear ways of doing business. It's been created by men, older white cis het men, neurotypical men for more of the same,
Wow.
right? So it's been very like, where is the money? Just work is supposed to be something you don't enjoy, but you just
Yeah.
know you have to do it, right? And so the way that I introduce like marketing, sales, running your business, connecting to the spirit of your offer is that spirits, like little ideas and businesses are little spirits, like
Mhm.
spirits of a book, right? Like you're writing one right now, and I've
Yeah.
I've written 2 books, and I want to continue writing so many more. That's definitely on my list. It's like those little ideas, they find you and they like grasp on, and they're
Yeah.
like, oh, this is the perfect person for it to come through as the physical vessel, right? Like, I want you, I choose you. And the same thing with businesses. There's a reason we can't stop thinking about it. There's a reason they come to us in our dreams. There's a reason we're like channeling these ideas. And sometimes they come to me at like 3 a.m. and I'm like writing them down ferociously so I don't
Yeah.
forget, and then you launch them. It's like we're always in co creation with the spirit of our business and the spirit of our individual offers, right? So I feel like the way that you bring and tie that in together with like, how does this need nurturing? How does this want to be brought into the world? What is the energy of this container, right? Those are things that you can kind of feel into from your intuition. And then you can also, of course, match that with understanding of astrology and reading. So I guess what I would ask you is if someone's looking up the birth chart of either their business or this or their offering, what are some things that they would want to look at
Mm.
that chart specifically? Because when you look at a chart and you have no astrology background, it can
Yeah.
feel quite overwhelming, at least for me,
Of
right?
course.
Not knowing what means what, all the different houses, all of the different signs. What are some things that you would like to draw people to, and why?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is that astrology is like learning a language. And just like when you look at a language that you don't understand, it's going to feel confusing. It's going to feel uncertain. You're not going to know all the little different parts and structure.
Absolutely.
So astrology works the same way. It's just like learning a language. And that's when I used to teach astrology. I don't teach so much anymore, but when I used to, I would break it down and be like, okay, these are the nouns and these are the adverbs and these are the adjectives. And so that's how
Mm,
I kind of bring it together is in that structure.
love
I'm
that.
also an English major in school, so there's that. But okay, so I would say if you're looking into the spirit of your business, there's a couple different placements to look at. The first is I'm always really drawn to the moon. The moon is your emotional self,
Mm,
it's your sensual self, it's your intuitive self. And I really look at like I look at it from the lens of, let me think about how to phrase this properly. What is the emotional appeal you're going to create behind this offering to get the clients or students to buy? What is the emotion you're going to evoke with them? Because no matter when you're making a purchase, it's always going to have some sort of emotion behind it. It's going to be a fuck yes, I'm fired up. I'm ready to create action. Let's do this. It's going to be a, oh my God, this is like totally speaking to my heart. Like I need this. Yes. It's going to be a, oh my God, I'm down, I'm not doing well. And this is something that's going to help give me the tools to move through what I'm going through. It's an emotional experience making a purchase. And so, what is the emotional experience you're going to create for the student or the client behind the offering? And how can you really hone into that in your copy and in your sales strategy and in your um, even in like the sales page, just to really speak to that kind of emotional experience, I think is really important. I think also looking at where Venus is positioned, Venus is the planet of love, beauty, art, aesthetics, kind of all things beautiful. Um, where what where she's placed can kind of tell you like where to kind of nurture that area of your offering in order to bring in some of that momentum, some of that money. So for
mm,
example, if Venus was placed in Aries, Aries is ruled by Mars, the planet of passion, drive, ambition. It is the fastest moving planet. I would say doing something, doing some sort of like quick little flash sales, doing some sort of like, okay, 48-hour discounted price, like doing something like that where it creates a sense of really quick urgency would be really great from a financial standpoint. But if you have Venus somewhere like I don't know, like Capricorn, for example. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, the planet of constraints, boundaries, discipline, structure, institutions. You're going to want to show them, okay, how does this lead to a bigger investment or bigger return over time? Like, what's the ROI on this? And how is that
Mm.
ROI justified by the price that you've set for it? So it's like where Venus is can really dictate how you create that sort of financial appeal as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. It's like unlocking. I like visually am very like clairvoyant. It's like unlocking all these little doors and like what's behind there. Oh, let me like like reveal and like all these little mysteries about this offer and about this business. That's so exciting.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that will really help to dive into, instead of just, because there's so many strategies out there. There's so many things that we've internalized around like you have to do this to be successful. You have to do that to be successful, right? You have to follow this specific strategy or that specific framework. And it's like, well, every offer and every business and every person, right? Every business owner, every CEO, you're going to have your own unique energy in how you sell and your own philosophies, your own values. And then the offer is going to want to come through in a specific way as well. Right. And it's like that is something that gets to be so unique to the offering. And yeah, I love it. I love the way that you talk about that. And I love the way that you allow it to kind of take form in its own original essence,
Yeah.
right? Rather than like, because now I think about and even from what you shared, I even think of it differently, even from the past couple moments of, how we're supposed to sell. I know for me, when I first started my business, I was introduced or not introduced, but like I submerged myself into a lot of very masculine teachings and practices and programs and different things where it was very strict and rigid and it was very disciplined. It was about like this is the way to do it, kind of like a one size fits everybody type of structure. And the more that, you're sharing about astrology, the more that I do my work in helping deepen your connection to your inner guidance and your inner wisdom, the more it's like I feel like as a collective are leaning away from that paradigm and that way of teaching into, connecting to the spirit of our individual offers and our businesses, our vision, the way in which we want to be received, the way in which we want to sell and market and show up powerfully for our people, because that is so personal to our own alignment. Even what we were talking about earlier from like the feminist movement and like, the boss babe vibes versus like the trad wife, right? Like, let's all just go back to like I just feel like one of the most dangerous things we can do is like, we all need to do this. Every spiritual person needs to be sober. Everyone who's an adult needs to have this. It's like, there's so many like blanket claims that we've heard around like this is just how it needs to be, and I think that actually just causes more, rupture than it does reward. And it really is about our own personal alignment to what we're creating. That's why like even with my students, I'm not telling them what to do. I'm never ever telling them that my way was the right way. All of our work is about what feels alive for you. How is this connected to your purpose, your vision, your energy, your offering, the way in which you desire for this to be brought into the world? And even if it doesn't look like anything else anyone's ever created, good. That means you are a leader in this space.
I think of it in terms of when we're talking about like energetics as well, like the masculine and the feminine. And I think to go back to what we were talking about with like the girl boss movement, like we were taught that we need to hustle like a man and we need to create like a man and we need to do this like a man. And listen, I'm not here to like talk about gender roles. I'm not here to talk about like whatever you want, whatever feels in alignment for you. But what I am here to say is that I truly believe that there is something to be said about men running a masculine run business and women running a feminine intuitive led business, and that there is an inherent business structure that works. And I say that as someone who has lived the majority of my life in a hyper masculine state that is so good, like I said, at taking action and being in that role. I have learned that I get better results and I feel better about the results, and my work is more aligned, and I'm more in tune with the spirit of my offering when I approach a more feminine business structure and a more feminine way of selling. And I think of it in terms of, I had someone say this to me once about myself and my partner, because my partner's an entrepreneur as well. And he's very much in the masculine business structure, and it works so well for him. But for me, I had a coach tell me once, she's like, you're like popcorn, and he's like a slow cooker, in the sense of, for me, I'm holding the energy, holding the energy, holding the energy. And then all of a sudden it explodes all at once, and it's here and it's there and it's there. And I've got like
The
five inherent ideas,
fireworks.
and it's the fireworks again, right? Exactly. Whereas the masculine business structure is, let's keep putting in a little bit at a time, and let's keep building
Mm.
slowly over time and build something sustainable in that way, so that we can measure KPIs and all of that fun stuff all along the way. And so it's not that there's one that's better than the other. I think they both have their time and place, and they both create very successful results. But in terms of, oh, it's 11:11 too, which is so funny.
Mm.
In terms of, there's one that's better for you and there's one that's better for someone else. I think if you have tried to do the masculine structure for so long and you're just hitting walls and you're frustrated and you're not getting the results you want, what would happen if you just allowed yourself to play a little bit more and approach it like that popcorn, right? Popcorn, the kernels go in the microwave or on the stove, and there's nothing, there's nothing, there's nothing. You're just feeding it with the heat and the oil and whatever it is that you need, and then all of a sudden it explodes. If you can create that trust and embodiment, and that goes back to trusting the universe, trusting yourself, trusting your own inner truth to guide you there, that's when you start to see those fireworks and those results. So I just kind of wanted to add that tidbit in.
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful, and for me, I also lead with a very like feminine sales. And again, like when we use the words, and I've shared this many times on the podcast, but in case anyone's like this is their first episode with me,
Oh,
when we talk about feminine and masculine energies, we're not talking about men and women necessarily, right? We all have feminine and masculine energies in our bodies. And I've actually worked with several like straight men, right, who are very kind of in their masculine and sometimes way in their masculine. And they're like, hey, I want to drop more into my feminine, or like, I want to activate more of my feminine. And that makes me so excited, right? Like, I literally have someone who joined my mini course last month, Multi Six Sales Magic. And he was like, Tiffany, I've done like big work, right? In like corporations, and I've created like $1 million in sales for them. And he said he's gone to like hundreds or even thousands of sales trainings, and he's
wow.
never heard anyone talk about sales in the way I did. And at the end of the program, he's like, Tiffany, I have $5,000 burning in my pocket, burning a hole in my pocket that I want to give to you. Like, how is this happening?
Oh my God.
And yeah, and now he's in, and we're working together. And he's not the only, I've been attracting more men into my space, and every man that I've worked with and that has joined a program has brought this level of conscious awareness of like energetics, and like, yeah, I've been around all of the bro marketers, or I've been one
Right.
myself, and now I want to drop deeper into the energetics of it all and build kind of my own yin yang of that. And I feel like that's so beautiful, because it isn't just right, like it isn't just our magnetism. We can be super lit up and turned on and fired up and all the things, but it's like there has to be movement there, right? Which is the strategy, the structure, like in what ways does it want to take form,
Mhm.
and allowing there to be a beautiful blend, a beautiful yin yang of that, and not necessarily 50-50,
Uh,
but what works for you in the ebbs and the flows, what works for your business in terms of the structure and the flow, right? What works well for you in terms of taking action versus dropping into your intuition and channeling and receiving the ideas that you need to be able to go forward.
exactly. Exactly. It's all about what is truly in alignment for you. And I think we're in an age where it's time to throw out the textbooks of like what you think business needs to be, because the landscape of what business is has changed
Oh
dramatically.
my gosh, so
Dramatically.
much.
Like anyone can start a business today. Literally anyone can start a business. Anyone can make a sale today. Anyone can make money online from their couch. And so it's all about finding the way that you want to do that, that is in line with your own authenticity and
Mhm.
your own desires and your own goals, and a way of selling that feels good. Like you said, business is hard. Like being an entrepreneur is hard. It has
Yeah.
moments where it's not for the weak, honestly. But at the
Yeah.
same time, you get to make it whatever you want it to be, which means you don't have to struggle for it to fit a certain structure in order to make it quote unquote work. It will work
Mhm.
when you find what works for you and you back it 110%, even when the sales aren't coming in, even when it's moving slow, even when you get pushback, even when you get hate comments, and you keep going. That's where it works, and that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, entrepreneurship is like it's a journey. It is a journey. It has taught me so many lessons. It has triggered so many awakenings. It has allowed me to dive deeper into my own healing. Like you think you know yourself and then you become an entrepreneur, right? And then it's like
Like, nothing.
everything hits you. You have to learn to expand capacity of like not just, the great moments, but like you hold a really beautiful moment in the morning and then in the afternoon there can be like a fire that you need to put out right away, or you're doing both at the same time and you're also leading a team, right? And you're also learning how to train these people. Um who are working underneath you, right? And showing up in a way that's in alignment to your values, right? And then there's clients who are like, "Oh my God, this work has changed my life." And then at the same day, within the same hour, someone's going, "I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
This doesn't like resonate for me." Right? And it's like learning to hold all of that, right? As you expand as an entrepreneur, it's not about just getting to the good stuff and everyone loves you. It's like
Yeah.
there's more of that, but there's also more of people not understanding, not resonating, being exposed to more audiences, and learning how to withstand and hold all of that in your capacity. Like Hannah and I were talking the other day about like regulating your nervous system and that being a
Yeah.
full-time job as an entrepreneur,
Oh
right? Because if
God.
we
Yeah.
can't regulate our nervous systems while we're navigating all of these things, and rejection on another level of rejection, right? No after no after no, sometimes for a while, right? Or a couple of weeks where you don't sign a new client, or, a launch that you thought was going to go so well and you're so excited about it and it doesn't pan out the way you want to. Like we've all experienced those waves of entrepreneurship because nothing's guaranteed,
Right.
right? Nothing is guaranteed, but the only thing that is a guarantee and our safest asset is ourselves,
Right.
right? So we get
Exactly.
to decide how we show up, who we decide to be, how we're going to handle this, taking it as data and just going, okay, what am I learning here? What am I doing differently? How am
Right.
I showing up? Where am I doubling down? Right? How can I begin to not begin, but like continue to improve and expand as an entrepreneur? Every single time I've fallen down, I've gotten back up, and then I fall down, I get back up. And it's just this constant process of evolution, right? And
Ah,
even when you are living your purpose, which both of us are, there's evolution and layers and layers and worlds and dimensions within that. It's not just like you find your purpose and then like amazing, I'm smooth sailing from here on out. That's just the beginning.
it's almost like too, people want to say the same thing like in dating as well. And this might be an example that they understand too, where it's like, they're like, once I find my person, everything's going to be easy and it's going to be a perfect relationship and it's going to be smooth sailing.
The happily ever after.
And it's like, actually, it's going to be the most beautiful and yet the most challenging and testing and triggering thing that you're ever going to go through too. And that's
Oh,
because there's no such thing as like that just smooth sailing, easy way out. You have to make
yeah,
the choice. You make the choice to be in that relationship. You make the choice to be
right,
in relationship with your business. You make the choice to show
right.
up. And, you know, if people are like, but what kind of transformation do I go through? Or what is that like? Like, I have been through the craziest death and rebirth, and I've documented the whole thing too. And your business is going to grow as you grow. Your business is going to evolve as you evolve. And when you let it, and don't let yourself get so bogged down to like being in a niche or being in a structure or being in whatever anyone else thinks you need to be, and instead you let your business evolve with you over time, that's when your business continues to be aligned. That's when the spark and the passion gets to happen. That's when you have the fireworks come out.
Mm,
That's when you get to have those
literally.
literally, I wonder if they're gonna come out. Um, that's where your business gets to be wholly and authentically you. And that's where you know that your
Mm,
business will always succeed. Because if it is aligned with you, then you'll know how to tackle every problem. You'll know how to find a solution. You'll know how to make it work. You'll know how to find the right team, the right investors, whatever it is that you,
yes.
but you can't do that if you are not so fully behind the mission. And the only way to
Hmm.
get so fully behind it is it has to be so fully you.
Yes. Yes, 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 exactly. Like that is yeah, that's the takeaway is coming home to yourself through your business, through your purpose, right? Business as an extension of
Yeah.
your soul's purpose, right? Like your purpose isn't your business is just one extension of it, right?
Yeah.
It's just one like variation of it. And there's infinitely more beyond that. So yeah. Oh my gosh, this has been so beautiful. Thank you so much for being on and sharing your wisdom.
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun and just such an honor to be on your show. So thank you.
Yeah, I always love to end with like, is there anything that you wanted to bring to the listeners, anything else that feels alive so that it can wrap up and kind of feel complete? If there's any last kind of tidbit, wisdom, anything that's coming through for the listeners that you want to channel for us?
Okay. Let me just lean in for a second because I feel something almost there.
Yeah, okay, cool.
What I'm hearing is, say I'm hearing from my intuition, from my guides, is a reminder to be here in the now, in the body, in sovereignty with what it is that you're feeling and creating right now, because the mind is going to create so many stories. The mind is going to lead you down so many different rabbit holes. The mind is going to talk you out of every single decision that you're going to make in business, in life, etc., that is good for you, because the mind's job is to keep you safe. But when you know that
Hmm.
your safety comes from your body, comes from within, and when you can connect back to that, that is where you will be able to transcend any sort of roadblock, any sort of setback, any sort of mental hurdle that comes your
Mm,
way. It's going to come from that ability to go within and go, but what do I know to be true? What do I know to be true? What do I know is true right now? And that is that I have everything within me to make this business a runaway success, that I am loved, that I am capable, that I am beautiful, that I make a tremendous impact in the lives of others. When you can connect back to that, that is the basis through navigating every single obstacle or growth moment or transformation that comes your way. So just remember to be here now and meet those things. The way that you lead yourself through that is what gives you the credibility, for lack of a better term, to be able to be a leader for other people. I'll say that again.
mm.
The way that you lead yourself through that, the way that you lead yourself through the difficult moments, through the pain, through the self-doubt, through whatever it is, the way that you lead yourself, that is what gives you the credibility to lead other people. Because just like you said, you have to go first. And that also applies to the way that you regulate your own emotions and keep yourself going, even when it feels a little difficult.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. What a beautiful note to end on. Thank you. I received that as well. I think we always need that reminder, right? It's like for a lot of us, it's like we know this, and it's
Right.
just here's a reminder of who you are, who the fuck you are. Oh my gosh. Yay. All right. So, Hannah, why don't you wrap up with sharing with us where we can find you and connect with you and work with you and all the things?
Absolutely. So you can find me everywhere at The Road to Hannah. Hannah spelled like Hannah, Hannah. That's a whole long story. So I'm at The Road to Hannah on Instagram. Website is theroadtohannah.com. TikTok is The Road to Hannah _. That is another story. Someone's pretending to be me on TikTok and took The Road to Hannah,
Oh
and I'm still trying to
God.
get it back. I know it's been years now and I'm still trying to get it back. Anyway, connect with me there. Those are my three main platforms. I do have
Beautiful.
one-on-one coaching. Right now it's waitlisted, but if you are interested, I can let you know as soon as the spot opens up. And I am also really, really excited to announce that today my signature program, Content with Confidence, opens. If you are ready to master your mindset through subconscious breakthroughs, tap deeply into your intuition, create a community on Instagram and TikTok, launch your first digital paid offering, and truly get paid to be in the authentic expression of you. This is an 8-module program that is so jam-packed with so many juicy trainings, literally takes you step by step by step from building your community to launching your offering and giving you all of the mindset and intuitive goodness within it. So if you are interested, right now we are in early bird pre-sale. You can get a special bonus and you can get a nice little discount by joining today. And if you have any questions, you can always let me know, but you can find the link to that in the bio of any of my socials or by going to theroadtohannah.com/CWC, which is Content with Confidence.
Yay, beautiful. And I'll have those links in the show notes and for everyone to access. And I am also running the Try Witch tournament for the entire month of March. So you can jump in on that as well. This is the entire sales tasks, challenges, a fun, gamified, really playful way of dropping into your sales, your magnetism in a way that is lighthearted, right? There's going to be winners and there's going to be prizes to be won. There's bonus points to be collected. When you introduce yourself, you're introducing yourself as your name and who you are, your powers, as well as your house, right? So I'm a Gryffindor. My online business manager is a Hufflepuff. We've got some Ravenclaws and Slytherins all in the chat. So it's an entire month on Telegram, along with live calls for the 3 tasks. The first one is Space Your Dragon, and we're doing a Yule Ball where everyone will come and dress up. So come and bring your friends. I just want to get as many people in here as possible so we can feed off of the energy and create a beautiful portal where we all come together, get charged up, get plugged in, and then we go and sell from our radiance, from our magnetism the entire month of March. And if that happens, like if you do that, look at what happens and what that creates in your business, in your revenue, in your income, in the way you connect with your community. So the investment's only $33. This is the
No
lowest ticket. Yes. So just come in, jump in, join us. It's going to be so much fun. We just kicked off a couple days ago, so you still have a chance to jump in. The link will be in the show notes, and you can DM me if you have any questions. And yay, thank you so much for being on. Thank you, all the listeners, for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe. If this episode resonated with you, please take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at tiffanychung.co. I truly appreciate interacting with every one of you. Catch you all on the next one.